Mayor Torres, are you on? Is that Piero? Can you please confirm? If you can hear us, please unmute yourself and confirm.
Yes, I'm here for Mayor Torres. I am his administrator. He's actually not going to be in the meeting, but I will be.
Oh, well, that's not necessary then. He was going to speak, so we can just have you pop off. He was going to speak via Zoom, was our understanding. But if he's not going to be here either way, then we're not going to cover anything Bernalillo related.
Right, he won't be at the meeting, you're correct.
Okay, so you can go ahead and hop off.
He wanted me to be on just to see how you all were going to do your, the opening of your rec centers.
Okay, you can watch it on Facebook Live then, because I just don't want another screen up here if no one is speaking on it, because we're filming this.
Okay, so just go on to Facebook Live?
Go on to Mayor Keller's Facebook Live.
Okay, will do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Should I need a minute again?
No, as long as Kristen will unmute herself, that's fine. I can hear her.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And just want to check, make sure we're okay on sound and video before we get started. So just take a look here. All right. And do we need to turn the volume up on this one? Anyone think we're good? Okay. A little better right there. All right, nice. Okay. So let's begin. Good morning. And, ready? For those of you watching, this means ready. This is your signing lesson for the day. I think it's apropos. You know, it's like good luck. Okay. So we're going to do our normal agenda for today. We're going to talk about some updates from Central New Mexico, and then we're going to deep dive in our summer programs. This has been one of the most asked topics that we've had in the last week. Now that we think about the preparation phase and hopefully a phase one in mid-May, we're going to talk about how the city's handling that. As a reminder, tens of thousands of kids go through those programs. So that's why, in many ways, this is so important. We'll talk about it, but this is, by definition, a big deal for the city and for Central New Mexico. Also, we're going to be joined by one of our special guests, and if this works, via video, and that is Kristen Chavez-Smith. She runs all our Youth Connect programs, and that's, of course, across all departments, the activities that we do. And so we're excited to hopefully be able to hear from her digitally. Okay, let's begin with some updates. First off, I want to remind folks that the South Valley Health Commons has COVID testing available by appointment tomorrow from 9 to 11 a.m. And again, that's at the South Valley Commons. To schedule an appointment, you can call 873-7477. Also, the Human Services Department announced that nursing facilities across New Mexico are going to be able to share $46 million in new Medicaid payments to help them mitigate and control the spread of COVID-19 among employees and vulnerable residents. So some very good aid and assistance coming through our State Health and Human Services Department. Now, let's talk about a couple of items that are relevant to the City of Albuquerque in terms of government continuity. One is animal welfare. I want to mention that in accordance with the governor's order, they are going to begin opening up a little bit more to the public. So here's how this is going to work on a preliminary basis. Emergency intakes will be taken from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and non-emergency intakes will be taken still by appointment. Rechecks at the East Side Clinic are going to be also by appointment only from 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that includes non-urgent rechecks. Curbside and telemedicine will be encouraged to allow social distancing and support of continued stay-at-home orders. Booster appointments at the East Side location. For foster puppies and kittens, they're going to be available from 1 to 2 daily. And boosters occur every 15 minutes during the allotted time slots. So that's how we're going to handle that. Adoptions are still by appointments only. And also, if you have questions, just call 311. They'll map through all of that. And again, we're going to slowly try and make animal welfare more and more back to regular, but as you can see, still heavily based on appointment and particular time slots. Okay, solid waste spring cleaning. The green waste pickups begin today. So this program is a collection program that's going to run through Friday, May 15th. And solid waste will pick up residential green waste at no additional charge. Solid waste residential customers should have their green waste at their curb by 7 a.m. on regular trash day, and all green waste must be placed 5 feet away from your trash and your recycling, as well as any large items that are scheduled for pickup. So again, this is actually what we do every year. We're going to continue to do that for green waste, and it's the right time of year with everyone cleaning yards and so forth especially. All right, we are now also going to go into our summer programs. And I want to mention we are here broadcasting live from our Doranis Community Center. And this is an awesome community center, by the way, because it has indoor-outdoor mixed space, very important in times of Corona as well. You can also see it's next to a beautiful field. And we got 2 folks out there getting some nice exercise. And so we have 20 plus of these all around the city, and they're heavily used. They're neighborhood favorites, family favorites, and senior favorites. And so we're going to talk about how we're going to use them this summer. So youth programming has been a key priority for ours since our administration took office. And as a reminder, we've been expanding youth programming over the last few years for a number of reasons. One, to keep our kids engaged over the summer, where we know that is all across America, the biggest drop-offs occur during the summer in terms of learning. We're trying to fill that gap with our own summer programs. We also know our meal programs feed tens of thousands of kids, and sometimes through the senior program, and also parents throughout the summer. Very important. We're going to talk a little bit about that summer program as well. We also know, look, this also keeps kids out of trouble. That's an important part. We're still looking at hiring 1,000 high school kids to basically teach other kids. And these are very important programs, long tradition. I was part of one way back a long time ago, actually, at Arroyo del Oso. So it was the first job I ever had, other than mowing lawns. So anyway, the other items that we want to touch on, of course, swimming pools, all these kinds of things, youth leagues, adult leagues, all the kinds of things the city runs during the summer. Again, we're going to preview them today, and over the course of May, we'll be refining all of the details. So here's the general story. We're going to have our summer programs. That is good news. Almost all of them. But almost all of them will be restricted and limited and refined to accommodate social distancing and all sorts of other concerns, including staffing concerns. So keeping the staff healthy is also something that's just as important to us. So again, I think the good news is we are doing these programs, but in a very modified fashion, and that's what we're going to be talking about. This also is part of what we're doing with the libraries. So remember, the public libraries have a number of summer programs. Some of these are going to be digital. We're also doing a summer camp at home program that is going to be distributed through APS in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of these details. So let me touch on some real important aspects to this, and then I'm going to hand it over to the experts on this. Registration for summer programs will begin soon. So, and also children of essential workers will be prioritized. And we've got a way to do this for our summer programs. So we're going to walk you through how this is going to work, but it's basically a lottery program. This is a system we've been using for quite some time because these are always oversubscribed or prescribed. And the lottery is going to take place May 11th to May 15th. And then we're going to do a drawing on May 18th. And then we're going to have a registration for those who are drawn in the lottery from May 20th to May 29th. And then we're going to tentatively start most of the programs on June 8th. And this tentative start date for the summer lunch program actually hopefully will be a week earlier on June 1st. Again, that's the tentative start date for the summer lunch programs. Cultural service programs like the Biopark programs, very popular. We're going to open those up online May 16th. All of this is going to be available on our website as usual, and I think on the 1ABQ app. And registration for programs through Parks and Rec, such as sports, they're going to vary depending on the program. So again, details coming throughout this month on that. Now, we're going to be flexible during the COVID situational changes. We're going to expand if things improve, and if things don't improve, then we're going to stay pretty restricted. We're going to utilize a wait list system, which again, we already have in place, so we'll hopefully be able to take more easily if we can. And again, we might have additional registration opportunities in midsummer. We'll just have to see how things go for that. So to talk a little bit more about this, is the coordinator of all our Youth Connect programs, Kristen Chavez Smith. So Kristen, I'm going to turn it over to you. Great to see you. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kristen Chavez Smith. I work in the Department of Family and Community Services. And as Mayor Keller said, I oversee the Youth Connect collaboration. So just to kind of bounce off exactly what he was talking about, the City of Albuquerque will definitely have youth programs this summer. The programs will be modified to accept the most youth possible while following the most recent COVID health and social distancing recommendations. So we want to do that to make sure that we're keeping the kids and families that use these programs safe as well as staff. We're doing this to work interdepartmentally through our Youth Connect collaboration, and it will be a phased-in program. So hopefully it will allow us to operate at the highest capacity possible, but taking in the most recent health recommendations. And these considerations might include the most recent social distancing recommendations, really elaborate hygiene practices that we're already implementing at community centers, some new PPE recommendations, both for the participants and for staff. So we are considering those as well. And then we're upping our disinfecting and cleaning practices, and we're sharing those practices between departments so that we're utilizing the best strategies possible to keep our facilities safe. As Mayor Keller said, we are going to try our best to prioritize children of essential workers to make sure that our healthcare workers, our first responders, our workers that are actually serving up other kids have somewhere to send their kids this summer. This plan will allow for the programs to expand as the COVID situation changes and improves, which is a really good thing. So I'm going to go through a couple things by department, just so that we can see what each department is going to do individually. So starting with Family and Community Services, as Mayor Keller talked about, our community center program. So usually we operate super large and we start our lottery really early. We postponed it this year, and our recommendation is that the lottery will start next week, which is May 11th through the 15th. So it'll go 1 week. Then the drawing will be on Monday, May 18th. We'll give staff just a couple days to get that list out to parents. They will get that list via email, whether they made it into the program or whether they're on the wait list. If they made it into the program, registration will take place May 20th through the 29th online, with a tentative start date for those programs on June 8th. Right now our recommendation is to be using a formula to calculate the safe amount of participants for each site. That will take into account the size of the center and the most recent social distancing recommendations. But we're also kind of like I said, in that recommendation phase. So we're just kind of waiting to see what it could look like at the end of lottery to announce really what those numbers might look like. So moving on to the Cultural Services Department and their programs. So those programs include the programs that you see at the different museums, the biopark, all of the libraries. So they're going to try to do some of those programs in person, but they're also going to do summer camps at home. We're also hoping to be distributing activity kits as the APS school year ends. So those kits might be created by the museum, the Albuquerque Museum, the Biopark, the Balloon Museum. We'll also be having the summer reading program like we do every summer. Registration for some of these programs will start on May 16th and the rest will roll out as we get more information. So Parks and Recreation plays a huge role as well in our summer youth programs. They offer a variety of programs through recreation, aquatics, open space. This year, they're planning to operate at an abbreviated level, meaning smaller groups, reduced schedule. It all depends on the health regulations and reasonable availability of sites. So tennis lessons hopefully starting in July into August. Once again, those locations might be limited and class sizes might be limited as compared to past summers. Outdoor adventure camps would be restricted depending on group transportation guidelines. So that's another challenge we're looking into, making sure transportation is available and that we can keep those vehicles clean and sanitized. And then the portable rock wall would resume operations in July, but with limited staff, as still depending on social distancing recommendations. The Esperanza Community Bike Shop, which does the youth earn a bike and the bicycle education clinics, can function with limited participants, depending on guidelines when facilities reopen. As for all of the sports leagues, we're looking at youth softball, soccer, rugby, flag football, lacrosse. It all really depends on the sanctioning body's guidance. And so we will update those programs as those sanctioning bodies issue additional guidance and recommendations. As for swim lessons, Parks and Recreation is hoping to offer classes in July at reduced sizes. As more information becomes available, we can give specifics on those dates. The Open Space Division is continuing a number of youth programs through virtual experiences, such as Family Nature Club. That's happening through Zoom. And some of those are even bilingual, which is super awesome. And you can access those through the city website, school websites, and through social media. Educators are also distributing information at grab-and-go lunch sites for youth who do not have access to computers. So some of that is happening now, and we're hoping to also continue that through summer. So registration for the programs through Parks and Recreation will vary depending on the program. Tennis registration will hopefully begin in May, with lessons to begin sometime in July. Open Space Explorer registration hopefully will begin in late May as well. And then swim lesson registration will likely begin at the end of June, depending on when we announce the exact dates of those swim lessons starting. So we also offer the summer lunch program, which is super popular. As Mayor Keller said, we're hoping to start that program on June 1st. The City of Albuquerque works very closely with APS in getting those meals prepared and out to members of the public. And we want to really ensure that youth will be fed and meals can be cooked at the highest capacity possible. So as with all the other programs, we're going to phase in the meal program. So city sites will increase as the program phases in. So we might start with less sites than normal, but hopefully we will be able to phase in more sites as the situation improves. And the last good note to end what I'm talking about on is our summer staff. So typically, the City of Albuquerque is one of the biggest employers of young people in the state. And so we are still expecting to hire and have on board about 1,000 young people over the summer to help with these programs. Summer staff will hopefully be hired before June 1st for the majority of these programs. And we're also working to do virtual staff training that will be done the week of June 1st, especially for those community center programs. So we'll be doing those virtually, getting staff trained. And then our training is going to include new things such as social distancing, hygiene practices, PPE guidelines, things that we've never really gone super deep in depth about in the past, but it's really important that we train staff in that this summer. So we're incorporating all of that to be able to offer the best youth programs that we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristen. We're going to adjust the mics a little bit here. And I know there's a little bit of wind out this morning, so a little bit of breeze that folks can probably hear. So, all right, now to talk a little bit more about some of these things, we want to bring up the Director of Family and Community Services. She's also going to touch on early childhood, right? And that's something, our early childhood care we've been doing for emergency essential workers, but we'll talk about how that's going to ramp up as well. So, Carol Pierce, our Director of Family and Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Kristen, for being part of the just unfolding to the community our plans for our youth programming. And we're really grateful for all the summer hires that the City of Albuquerque has every summer. It's really an important part of our programming. In addition to the summer programming that Kristen covered for Family and Community Services and the other departments, historically, Family and Community has worked very closely with Albuquerque Public Schools to have several sites, about 8 to 10 sites inside of schools through our therapeutic and playground recreation program. We're optimistic those will be occurring. We're working closely with APS now on that guidance and the numbers of youth and how registration will occur. So stay tuned for more information on that. I also know that many people in our community look forward to the Cruising into the School Year event that happens usually early August, right before APS opens. And we're looking forward to doing something this year. It'll be a little modified, but this is an event that brings folks together to give school supplies, haircuts. So we, again, will be following the social distancing orders, but we look forward to do some kind of modified event and looking forward to working with our business community to roll that out. In terms of our child development centers, as everyone knows, we have 25 child development centers operated by the City of Albuquerque, and always want to thank that staff that continues to reach out to our parents and youth doing online learning and reaching out to make sure that our parents and kids have everything they need. Currently, we only have one child development center open that is full, and that was for essential workers. But right now, if there's a member in our community that has a need, I encourage people to go to newmexicokids.org. There are child development centers open in our community that are there to provide that care for people and parents that need to work. We do anticipate opening up all of our child development centers in the weeks to come in compliance with the governor's orders, as well as being aligned with our mayor. And so there will be more information about that. But in closing, I really want to thank the staff at our community centers and those in our child development centers that continue to provide great care for kids in these new times and really be a positive role model for our youth out there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Carol and Kristen. And so lots going on. And again, what we're going to do is talk about this again next week as we get more and more firm dates. And then we'll probably have another update somewhere either in the beginning of June or around Memorial Day so that folks can really understand when to register for what and where the different activities will be occurring. And again, stay tuned to the internet for the latest on that. So I think the biggest thing is, in Albuquerque, we want to be here for our youth as best that we can. And we know that we want them to be safe over the summer, and also hopefully provide some enrichment and some support too for parents or single parents with children, as I know this is a very important part of our workforce, in a sense that many working parents depend on our program so that they can keep working. So this is very much also an economic development effort for us. I also want to acknowledge that there's a lot of cities around the country and around our state that are unable to provide these programs because of either budget deficits or so forth. And so, knock on wood, again, because of our federal funding that we're working through and so forth, we feel confident that we can do this for the city of Albuquerque. But it's really an example of Albuquerque stepping up and doing everything we can. It would be a lot simpler and easy to just give up on the summer and on our kids this summer. And we don't want to do that. We don't have to do that yet. And so we're going to try and make this work. Now, a couple of things. You can help with these programs. If folks are interested in supporting financially, that is always very helpful. And the way it works is basically if you donate to the One Albuquerque Foundation, that money, literally it's like you pay for one more swim teacher. On average, they might teach 100 kids over the summer, so you're giving 100 kids swim lessons. That's the kind of program that we still can put together if we get some additional donations. Now, I think with that, we'll try and take some questions online. So if folks are interested in sending those in, you can do so at this time. And I'll just mention takeout was Laguna Burger. Excellent. And they don't have just burgers. Excellent Frito pie. Barbecue beef shoulder. Excellent. Anyway, I was pausing for some questions to come in. So let's see what has rolled in. Questions on all of this.
We have a few from Kristen at News. The first question is that the city's been planning, you said that the city was planning to hire around 1,000 people this summer. How many people does the city usually hire this summer?
So question coming in was about our hiring. And so again, these are typically high schoolers or college kids who then sort of teach and or monitor and coordinate the younger children. And we're estimating about 1,000. We've hired as much as 14,000 in the past. 1,400. Key difference there, 1,400. And so it's smaller than before, but again, we're going to try and hire almost as much this year.
Okay. Do you have a ballpark range for the percentage or the amount of fewer slots that you'll have this year for the programs?
So the question is about kind of the range for the programs. And I'd say right now we're using different sort of analogies to think about, but we want to be able to expand as fast as we can. So we're looking at a range right now. We think at a minimum we should be able to provide really a quarter of our activities, 25% of our activities, but we're hoping to get that up to maybe as much as even 80%. We'll just have to see, again, based on health orders and how fast staff can ramp up. And so that's the range we're looking at now, and we'll narrow that range as we get closer to June.
Okay, another one from Chris. What is the city anticipating the biggest challenge of this rollout will be?
Good question. It's about what is the biggest challenge of this rollout. I think the challenge is multifaceted in that, number one, we do have to train staff. So because these are seasonal staff, it's not like they've already been working for us. So we have to hire them and train them. And so that does create a lead time, meaning we can only ramp up so fast because we have to train folks. So that's number one. Number two is we do need to be sensitive of all the health regulations. So we're just going to have to see where the state goes and then also where Bernalillo County's at, because we know that, the situation might be different in Bernalillo County than the rest of the state. So that is a huge unknown, and that's why we're trying to be as flexible as we can. And I think the third piece, too, is, we are going to have quarantine procedures. So, of course, if there is a positive case at a community center and so forth, we very much expect that, just as we have at all our city facilities or at a library. Then we're going to have to close, we're going to have to sanitize, we're going to have to contact trace. All of that takes staff, takes coordination with the state, and so we believe by June we're going to be ready for that. But that is going to be a reality not just for city programs, but for the workplace. And so that is also a big challenge we're looking at.
And one question from Jessica Dyer at the Journal. Have you opened up applications for teen employees yet?
Question is, have we opened up applications for teen employees? The answer is yes, we have.
Are you worried at all that it will be hard to get employees this year?
Question is, are we worried that it's going to be hard to get employees? And our staff is giving me unequivocally not hard. These positions fill up super fast in normal times, and I think even more because there's fewer employment opportunities now. And these are generally popular, by the way. I mean, I also just want to honor our Parks and Rec team and our Family and Community Services team. These are great jobs. Kids look forward to this. They try and do it as long as they can for as many years as they can, and they often remember it for the rest of their lives, just as I do.
One more from Kristen at Cherokee News. Obviously, this is a big change for the city's organization of these programs. What do you hope kids and parents will get out of this?
Well, the question is about, these are big changes. What do we hope that parents, kids will get out of it? And I think it's very basic. It's the same reason why I'm a big believer in summer programs, because they're not just about the kids. So number one, I want the kids to get some additional education. We also want them to stay active, stay healthy, want them to get a good meal. These are all challenges for large parts of our community. We also want them to make some friends and so forth, that the kinds of things you enjoy when you're a kid. But we also want the parents to have a safe place to take their kids so that they can work. That's very, very important. And we also want to make sure, too, that kids have alternative parenting and adult role models. We also know this can be a challenge often at home. And many times our summer programs are a gateway into social services. And that's very important, both for the parents and for the children, and very critical for our city. It always is, but even more now.
Thank you. We have one more from Cherokee. In regards to swimming pools, will the pools be open for swim at any point?
Good question about swimming pools coming in and what our game plan is there. Our game plan is to open the pools. Now, I want to mention some major caveats with that. One is, I think they're going to be opening later than everything else. Two, they're going to be operating on a limited basis. So we may or may not even have public pool usage, but we may still provide swim lessons. That's one of our most popular activities. So we are going to begin accepting reservations and so forth on that. And there's going to be more details coming out probably next week with respect to that. And so I want to mention our plan is to do that. And I do get a lot of questions about this, so I do want to mention this. All across the country, and there are different parks and rec organizations that every city belongs to. So we're getting a lot of health advice right now on swimming pools, and the key is the same. It's keeping social distance, even if you're in a pool. And it's also limiting that overall capacity. We do want to mention that, as with anything, because of the chlorine in the pools, that's actually a good thing. So the water is not only safe, it's actually safer. We just got to make sure people are maintaining the right rules. So we're working through that, and we're going to move in step with other pools around the country.
Okay. No other questions.
All right, so with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Kristen, great to see you. Thanks for putting all this together, to you and your team. Also, Jess, who's here as well, and everyone else who works in our Youth Connect program. And stay tuned for more information next week. And I think tomorrow we are going to have our briefing at 11:30. The focus right now is actually going to be on public safety and especially domestic violence and child abuse. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. All right, thank you so much. I would have taken it. I would have raised the T-rates up there. Too many cameras. Yeah, but yeah, Matt, Lacey, and Javier, super close too.
I live just at the end of the